1 week before the start of your tournament, you're going to want to officially close down registration and then actually schedule your tournament. A lot of people like to do this, like, say if the tournament's on Saturday, they often do it like on the Sunday or the Monday before the tournament. So first, you need to close the tournament. So to close the tournament, I'm going to go to Registration Manager, and then I'm going to hit Registration Settings. Now here it says the overall status is open. I'm simply going to toggle it to closed and hit Update Settings. Now my registration is closed and nobody can continue signing up or changing their registration. I'm going to return to homepage now by clicking return to homepage. Not only are you going to close that registration, which honestly a lot of people do that 2 weeks in advance. So if you want to do that 2 weeks, that's great. But back on the homepage, you also need to now schedule your tournament. Now, before you go ahead and schedule, I always like to double check that all of the teams that are coming to my tournament have all their ducks in the row. So what I do for that is I'm going to head over to this Teams tab. So I'm going to click on my Teams tab, and then I'm going to view the entry summary so that I know what the entries look like for all of these. So that's it right here in the middle, View Entry Summary. So I'm going to hit View Entry Summary. So this tells me which schools, how many entries, how many students total, regardless of the number of entries, because there can be groups, and then how many judges. So this is just a good place to check to make sure nobody has any zeros here. If someone forgot to submit their students and attach them as entries, it's a good thing to look. You'll see a 0. Or even judges. Sometimes some people forget to put their judges in. So if I always check here first and then give a warning email to anyone who seems to be missing information and give them a heads up that they are missing information. If everything looks great here, you can return to team listing here. And the other thing that you can do is make sure that if you want to go above and beyond in checking out everybody's stuff, and you don't have to, so you could click into each school and view their this team's actual entries. So I'm going to do that by saying edit this team's entries. And I'm just going to scroll through here and make sure they got no blanks. So I want to see kids' names wherever they have a supposed entry, as you do right here. If there was a blank entry, and that would look like this, it's just like a completely blank entry, then that means they didn't attach it to the student, which isn't the end of the world. What it means for the student, though, if this is attached to their emails, that they won't get their e-ballot. So I would alert someone and say, hey, I see you've got a group acting entry, but you didn't input the kid's name, so it's probably not attached to their email. Please complete registration. Or if you've already closed it, you can ask for the students' names, and if you put them in exactly as they usually set them up, then it'll attach right to their team properly. So I'm going to return to homepage right now and say, okay, everything's good to go. Everything looks great. And I want to go ahead and actually start my wizard. Now, if you are running a power round, it might be helpful to look right now before I start the wizard to do the scheduling, just to see the numbers per category, because then you'll know how many power rounds you need, which is something the wizard is going to ask you. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back to the Teams tab. And this time, instead of looking at the entry summaries, what I want to see is the entry spreadsheet, view entry spreadsheet. So what this does is it takes everyone's together, and you can see at the bottom here, it totals the number of students per category. So if I was looking at Farrago, for example, I can see there's going to be 9 competitors in Farrago. So for me, 1/3 of 9, which is what would go to the power round, would just be 3 kids. So I only need 1 power round. I only need 1 for demo. In impromptu speaking, technically it's going to be a 3rd round because there's not enough kids to even have a power round. And I'll show you how to actually adjust that as well. But that's kind of how that works. And obviously, the greater the number, if there was 21 kids, then I know I needed more. I would need maybe 2 rooms for a power round to cover that top third, which would be 7 kids. So I always look at that and kind of take note on a pen and paper of like which category, how many power rounds. Then I would actually go in to schedule. So to start the actual scheduling, and again, do this about a week before the tournament. I usually do it on the Monday, like before a Saturday tournament. I'm going to hit Activate Wizard. And then I'm going to say, yes, I want to start using the wizard. And then I'm going to continue using the wizard. And it says, are you sure you want to schedule? I'm like, yeah, I do. I want to schedule it now. And I don't care about saving the team data, so I'm just going to hit next step. That's like if you wanted to use the exact same team data next year, assuming the exact same humans are coming to your tournament next year, but that's not really necessarily going to happen. So I'm going to hit next step. This is where you give each school a code. Now we use numbers. It will automate letters. So I just go through and give them numbers. Make sure they're 2-digit numbers. So 01, 02, 03, 04. Those are my numbers. And I'm going to hit set codes. And then I hit next step. And this is asking me how I want things to be auto-coded. And I'm going to want them to auto-code both my competitors and my judges. So I'm going to say yes, auto-code. And so that means it has now given every speaker as well as every judge a code. They'll have the school code, the category code, and then their speaker code if they're a speaker. If they're a judge, just their school code and their judge code. Now I'm going to hit next step. This is reminding me to close it. I had you guys do that ahead of time because I usually do this before I ever start scheduling. I highly suggest that is the case. We have it in close, so we're good to go. We can just hit next step. Now, this page allows you to set your rooms and your room structure. So for me right here, I've got, see example, like demonstration speech. I want 2 different rooms, and it'll tell me 1 section of 3, 1 section of 4. That looks great. If you're tight on space, 1 room of 7 is probably the max that someone should ever do. So you've got that. Now for Rago, I've got 9, definitely 2. That's appropriate. 1 section of 4, 1 section of 5. Impromptu speaker, I only have 3, so I'm going to do 1 section of 3. And you just hit the plus or minus to change, and it always gives you what's going to spit out of that as a result. So I'm going to update my section structure, and then I'm going to hit next step. Now, assigning rooms. Now that we're in in-person tournaments, to use Speechwire, you can actually put your school's room numbers to work here. So right now, I don't actually have any room numbers. And there's this great place right here. Want to add more than 1 room at once? Yes, I do. I want to input all the rooms I'm going to possibly be using as competition rooms. Because if you really had a full competition, that could be a lot of rooms. So I'm going to click here to add a list of rooms. And then we can simply type in the room numbers here. And you can do letters or numbers. As it says up here, though, it does suggest don't even say the word room. Just type like the 102, or if it's 102A or something like that. And you can put in commas between them or spaces. For some rooms, I've even had, like if it doesn't have a room number, I've had a word like library, and that works just fine as well. So I'm going to use numbers, though, because my school does have room numbers. So my competition rooms are going to be, we're all going to be up on the second floor. We're going to be in room 200 and 201, 202, 203, 204, 205, 206, 207, and so on. And I'm just separating by commas all of the different rooms that are going to be in use throughout my tournament. Sorry, I think I hit a space there twice. And these are whatever correlates to your actual room numbers in your building or in the space that you are using for your tournament is what you should plug in here. So I think that's all of my rooms that I'm going to need, that I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to hit add rooms. So now I have all those rooms, and I'm going to return to room manager. And now I can actually attach each competition grouping to a room so that the categories have a room to actually compete in. So click here to assign rooms to competition groupings. That's what I'm going to do. And you have to do it 1 round, 1 category at a time. So I'm going to start with demo round 1. select round and grouping. And it'll tell you right here, there's 2 sections in demonstration round 1. So that means I need 2 rooms. So I'm going to click on room 200 and room 202. And something that's nice is you can actually copy the room setup for all preliminary rounds, which is really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and say copy rooms. So that's for round 1 and round 2 now have been set. And then I'm going to jump down to another category that I had. So I think I had demo, I think Farrago, and then I think I had humorous. We'll find out. Select round and grouping. All right, this one tells me there's 2 sections in Farrago, so they're going to be in 201 and 203. You could pick, you don't have to go in order. You could pick whatever rooms you wanted. So if you knew that like 220 is a smaller space and Farrago people don't move, you can do like 220 and 201, whatever you want. Again, I'm going to Farrago all prelim rounds. I want to copy those rooms. That's great. And then my last category that I had at this tournament was impromptu speaking. Select that, select round and grouping. This one, I just need 1 room. You know what? I really wanted them to be in 214, so I'm putting them in 214. I want to copy it, copy rooms. Great, that's done. Now, what I still need to do is the power round rooms, which I believe for my power rounds, I have a Farrago power round. I have not assigned. Oh, I have not. Lies. Oh, it's because I input it round. It's called a final round. That's my bad. You're gonna have it in the power round. I messed that up. So pretend it says comma power round because that's what it technically is supposed to say, but I messed it up. And it does tell me the number of sections in Farrago. Final round has not yet been specified. Okay, that's fine. We know there's 9 entries and that it tells you that overall, so that's going to be 3 kids. I'm only going to need 1 room, so I'm going to go ahead and assign a room to that. And then I'm going to jump to the other one. I know I have a power round in, but I input it wrong, so it says final round, is demo, so I'll select that. And 7 entries, again, that's only going to be 1 room for a power, so I'm going to give them 215 because why not? And then my impromptu speaking, I'm actually going to have to change because if you remember, there was only 3 kids in impromptu. So I'm going to have to go back and change the tournament structure because right now, impromptu speaking is set up for a power round, but I need to change them for a 3rd round, and that's when I'll assign their rooms. So right now, I like what I have. I'm going to return to the rooms menu. And I think I should be good to go here. Oops, with my room menu. So click here to view. Oh, you can check it. Click here to view current room usage. So this is like an overview of how you plan to be using it, which is perfect. And you can see that I don't have my impromptu yet actually scheduled. There's no impromptu for that 3rd round, which these 2 have a power, which I coded wrong and says the final round, so that's okay. But my impromptu I'm going to have to change. So I'm going to return to rooms menu right now, call it a day, and hit next step. Now, this is where they're having me actually schedule the prelim rounds. So in scheduling the prelim rounds, what that means is they're going to assign kids to all of those rooms and the speaker orders and judges and all that stuff. I think the judges is technically a different step. But I'm going to go ahead and say check all. I want to schedule them. So I'm going to hit schedule. And are you about to schedule these things? Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Schedule that. Warning, don't relocate. Oh, look at success. It did it. Now, next step. Do I want to sign the judges? Absolutely. I'm going to check all. Go ahead and sign judges. Auto-assign judges. That's great. Yes, schedule them now. Now, it says Speechwire was unable to assign a judge automatically to some sections. Now, this is because this tournament is ridiculously small, and I think I only have 4 schools signed up. So I'm probably having a conflict. And I don't have a judge that can judge Farrago because there's kids in it that belong to their schools. This won't normally happen. This is happening only because my sample tournament has like 4 schools. At a real tournament, this won't happen. So I'm just going to hit next step for now. Now, scheduling is complete. I'm going to return to my home page. Now, we did say there was something I wanted to change in my tournament structure, and that was that impromptu speaking. I wanted to change them from having a power round to instead just having a round 3. So the way you do that is I would go ahead and like schedule everything normally, except you're not going to end up scheduling that one category of power round. You're going to change that in a couple different ways. So first, you'll go into the tournament structure, and you can see I've actually already done this for something, and you're going to hit rounds. So most of these you can say 2 rounds, and they've got an elim. It says semis. That's the power round. But you can see if you look at my impromptu speaking, I changed it. I went in here and I changed it from this 2 rounds. It was originally like this, 2 rounds and a semi. But I changed it to 3 rounds and no elims. And then I hit save round numbers. And I've changed the number of rounds. It's not the only thing you have to do. So back now over in time slots here, I had to come here, and where I have all these power rounds, I had to change impromptu speaking to a round 3 and then hit save changes. Couple more things you still have to do. You need to assign them a round 3 room because you likely didn't do that. You likely gave assigned rooms for like power rounds originally. So I'm going to hit rooms, and I'm going to hit click here to assign rooms to competition groupings. So I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to go down to my impromptu, and that's the new round 3. Select round and grouping, and then I'll pick an open room to assign it to. I assigned it to 211. Great, good to go. So now I've got a time, I've got a zone, and I've got a structure. So now I just need to schedule that individual round, even though all the other power rounds have already been technically scheduled. So now I'm going to go into Scheduling Manager. And for Scheduling Manager, I'm going to go in here, and I am going to go ahead and click Schedule a Competition Grouping. And here, the ones that are grayed out are the ones that haven't been scheduled yet. And obviously, a regular power round wouldn't be scheduled, but this is a round 3. Impromptu speaking round 3. Now, I technically already scheduled it, which is why it's blue and not gray. But if I hadn't, I would check it, and then I would hit the schedule button. And just like I did originally, it'll ask me to then auto-assign judges, and I'll agree to that. And so that's how you schedule one single category or maybe 2 categories to have 3 rounds when everything else is having a power round.